The last line of defense. The Defiant wasn't built for war. Captain Elena Reyes stared at the tactical display as it painted an impossible scenario across the command deck. The scout vessel hummed beneath her feet, systems operating at peak efficiency despite the damage sustained during their hasty escape from Outpost Theta. The holographic projection showed 57 warships, each at least 20 times the size of her modest vessel, moving in perfect formation toward Earth's coordinates. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her throat. Lieutenant Commander Jax Tanner, her XO and oldest friend, looked up from his console. His dark eyes held no hope, but his voice remained professional. "Engines at 89% capacity. Shields are operational but weren't designed to withstand military-grade weapons. Comms array is damaged. We can receive, but long-range transmissions are impossible. And our guests. Still in the mid-bay. Dr. Seto says the Akari ambassador will live, but the rest of his delegation." Jax trailed off. Elena nodded grimly. The Akari were the reason they'd been at Outpost Theta in the first place, the first potential allies humanity had found since venturing beyond their solar system 30 years ago. First contact had gone well until the Korthax Armada appeared without warning. The Korthax. Every spacefaring species feared them. Conquerors who offered one choice: submit or perish. They had systematically dominated the Orion Arm for centuries, assimilating or destroying any civilization that resisted. And now they were heading for Earth. Humanity wasn't ready. "Play the final transmission from Outpost Theta again," Elena ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing Commander Ortiz's face, smoke filling the background, alarms blaring. "This is Earth Outpost Theta. We are under attack by the Korthax Armada. The Akari delegation has been mostly killed. All Earth vessels in range, retreat immediately. I repeat, retreat." The transmission cut to static. "That's all we received before the outpost went dark," Jax said quietly. Elena closed her eyes briefly. 800 colonists. 35 military personnel. All gone. "Captain." The ship's AI, Araya, projected a small blue hologram beside Elena's chair. "I've analyzed the Korthax fleet's trajectory. At their current speed, they will reach Earth in 48 hours and 17 minutes. And our ETA if we push engines to maximum. 49 hours and 33 minutes, Captain." "So we can't outrun them to warn Earth," Elena murmured. "No, Captain." The bridge fell silent. Earth's defense fleet was formidable by human standards, but laughably small compared to what was bearing down on them. Without warning, they would be annihilated. "What about the Galileo station?" Jax suggested. "It's along our current path, if we can reach it." "Their comms range isn't any better than ours," Elena cut in, "and the Korthax would detect any transmission." She paced the bridge, mind racing through options, each more desperate than the last. Earth needed time to prepare, to mobilize their fleet, to evacuate civilians. Elena stopped suddenly. If we reverse course and intercept the Korthax fleet, how long would it take them to notice us?" The AI's hologram flickered with calculations. "Given their sensor capabilities and our size, approximately 18 minutes after we enter their detection range. And if they diverted to engage us, it would delay their arrival at Earth by approximately 3 hours, assuming they dispatch only a small contingent to deal with us." 3 hours. Not enough. "What if they consider us a serious threat?" Elena pressed. Araya's hologram tilted its head. "The probability of a single Earth scout ship being classified as a serious threat is less than 0.03%. Unless we make ourselves one," Elena said quietly. Jax looked up sharply. "Elena." "Captain," she corrected automatically, but there was no heat in it. They'd known each other too long. "Captain," he amended, "whatever you're thinking. The Korthax operate with perfect coordination because their fleet links to a central command ship," Elena said, pointing to the largest vessel in the holographic display. What if we convinced them we're targeting it? With what? Jax asked incredulously. Our mining lasers. No. Elena turned to the ship's engineer, who had been silently monitoring systems from her station. Lieutenant Zhao, we're carrying experimental terraforming charges for the Proxima colony, correct? Zhao's eyes widened. Yes, Captain. 16 Nova-class plasma detonators. They're designed to reshape planetary crusts, not for weapons use. But they could damage a ship. They could vaporize one, Captain. But we'd need to be practically on top of the target to deploy them. Our launch systems aren't military grade. Elena nodded, a plan forming. And if we converted the entire ship into a delivery system? The bridge went silent as understanding dawned. You're talking about a suicide run, Jax said flatly. I'm talking about buying Earth time, Elena replied. If the Korthax believe we're carrying superweapons targeting their command ship, they'll have to divert significant resources to stop us. The longer we evade them, the more time Earth has. And if they just blow us out of space immediately, Jax challenged. They won't, came a weak voice from the bridge entrance. All heads turned to see Ambassador Krell of the Akari leaning heavily against the doorframe. Dr. Seto hovered anxiously behind him, medical scanner in hand. Ambassador, you shouldn't be, Elena began. The Korthax are methodical, Krell interrupted, his silver skin pale with exertion. They won't risk destroying an unknown weapon. They'll attempt capture first. Elena helped the ambassador to a seat. You know them well. Too well, Krell replied grimly. The Akari were once many worlds. Now we are one, hiding on the fringes of space. Your people sheltered us when no one would. I will not watch another civilization fall. Elena turned back to the tactical display. If the entire Korthax fleet diverts to intercept us, how much time would that buy Earth? Approximately 22 hours, Captain, assuming continuous evasive maneuvers on our part. 22 hours could make the difference between extinction and survival. We don't have enough fuel for continuous evasive maneuvers, Jax pointed out. No, Elena agreed, but we have something better. She turned to Ambassador Krell. Your shuttle uses Akari phasing technology, doesn't it? The technology that makes your ships difficult to track. Krell's large, pupil-less eyes widened. Yes, but it's calibrated for a much smaller vessel. Lieutenant Zhao, could we integrate the ambassador's shuttle systems with ours? The engineer frowned in concentration. It's never been done before, but theoretically, yes. We'd need to modify our power distribution, and the Akari would need to share their technological specifications. My people are facing extinction, Krell said simply. You have our cooperation. Captain, Jax interjected, even if this works, even if we delay them, we're talking about a one-way mission. Elena met his gaze squarely. I know. That's why I'm not ordering anyone to stay. Prepare a shovel with our logs and all information on the Korthax. Any crew member who wishes to attempt reaching Earth directly can go. And you? Jax asked, though he already knew the answer. Someone has to fly this ship, Elena replied with a small smile. Jax held her gaze for a long moment, then turned to the rest of the bridge crew. You heard the captain. Anyone who wants to leave, report to the shuttle bay in 20 minutes. No one moved. Elena felt a surge of pride so intense it almost overwhelmed her. Very well, she said, keeping her voice steady. Lieutenant Zhao, begin integration with the Akari shuttle. Lieutenant Reed, plot an intercept course with the Korthax fleet. Dr. Sato, prepare the Nova detonators for remote detonation. We need to make this look convincing. As the crew sprang into action, Elena turned back to the tactical display. The massive Korthax fleet glowed ominously, steadily moving toward her homeworld. Aria, send a message to the Korthax command ship, Elena ordered. Unencrypted, all frequencies. Ready, Captain. Elena straightened her shoulders. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth vessel Defiant. We know your destination and your intent. Be advised. We are armed with Nova-class weaponry and will intercept your fleet in 6 hours. We offer you one chance to change course and leave this sector. Otherwise, we will be forced to demonstrate humanity's resolve." She ended the transmission with a gesture. Now we see if they take the bait. They didn't have to wait long. 3 minutes later, the tactical display changed dramatically. The perfect formation of the Korthax fleet began to shift as multiple vessels altered course. "They dispatched 15 warships to intercept us," Araya reported. "Only 15. Jax raised an eyebrow. Ambassador Krell's face shifted into what Elena assumed was the Akari equivalent of a grim smile. "They're curious. They've never encountered humans before. Let's make it a memorable introduction," Elena said, setting her jaw. "Lieutenant Reed, engage evasion pattern Omega. Lieutenant Zhao, how long until the Akari phasing technology is online?" 3 hours minimum, Captain. "We'll just have to survive that long then." Elena settled into her command chair. "Battle stations, everyone. Let's show these Korthax what one human ship can do." As the Defiant surged forward, Elena watched the approaching enemy vessels on her display. The odds were impossible. The mission was likely suicide, but she felt a strange calm settle over her. Every minute they kept the Korthax distracted was another minute Earth had to prepare. The first enemy shots flashed across the void of space, and the game of cat and mouse began. Humanity's gambit. The Defiant shuddered as another energy blast grazed its shields. Warning lights bathed the bridge in crimson. They'd been evading the Korthax pursuit ships for 14 hours, far longer than anyone had thought possible. "Shields at 23%, Lieutenant Zhao reported, fingers dancing across her console to reroute power. "The Akari phasing technology is overheating again." Elena wiped sweat from her forehead. Life support was operating at minimum to conserve energy for shields and engines. The bridge temperature had climbed steadily over the past hours. "How long until we can phase again?" she asked. 30 minutes, minimum," Zhao replied. "Too long." The Korthax had adapted their tactics after the Defiant had disappeared 3 times, using the Akari technology to briefly shift partially out of normal space. Now, instead of concentrating their fire, the enemy vessels had spread out, creating a net that would be impossible to slip through without phasing. "Captain," Araya's hologram appeared, flickering with interference. "The Korthax have deployed scanning drones. They appear to be searching for our energy signature." Ambassador Krell, who had refused to rest despite his injuries, leaned forward. "They're becoming desperate. They cannot understand how a primitive human vessel continues to evade them." "Primitive." Jax raised an eyebrow. By their standards, Krell clarified with what Elena had come to recognize as an apologetic gesture. "The Korthax believe technological superiority equals biological superiority. Your continued resistance challenges their worldview." Elena studied the tactical display. Their diversionary tactic had worked better than expected. The entire Korthax fleet had now diverted to hunt them. Earth would have nearly a full day to prepare. But the Defiant was running out of tricks. "Captain," Lieutenant Reed called from tactical, 5 more Korthax vessels have joined the pursuit. These are," he hesitated, "these are their elite hunter ships." The tactical display updated to show sleek, predatory vessels moving at speeds that nothing in Earth's fleet could match. "Time to intercept?" Elena asked. 20 minutes. Elena exchanged a glance with Jax. They'd known this was coming. The game couldn't last forever. "Dr. Sato, status of the Nova detonators." The doctor's voice came through the comm. "Rig it and ready, Captain. Remote detonation is operational. And our special modification complete. They won't be able to disarm them without triggering an immediate detonation." Elena nodded. When the time came, they could at least ensure the Defiant wouldn't be captured intact. "Captain," Jax said quietly, moving to stand beside her chair, "we've given Earth 19 hours. That's 19 more than they would have had." "It's not enough," Elena replied, her voice equally low. "It's what we have." Elena was about to respond when Ambassador Krell suddenly straightened, his large eyes widening. "Captain, may I access your long-range sensors?" Elena nodded to Reed, who transferred control to the ambassador's console. Krell's six-fingered hands moved with surprising speed over the unfamiliar human interface. The main screen shifted to show a distant sector of space that had appeared empty moments before. But it wasn't empty now. 3 ships had appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. Ships like Elena had never seen, organic-looking, with graceful curves instead of the angular human designs or the brutal efficiency of Korthax vessels. Akari ships, Krell breathed, something like hope in his voice. A defense squadron. They must have detected the Korthax fleet. "Will they help us?" Jax asked. Krell's expression was complex. The Akari Defense Force would never engage the Korthax directly. We learned that lesson too painfully, but perhaps. He opened a communication channel and spoke rapidly in the melodious Akari language. The response came almost immediately, a burst of similar sounds that meant nothing to Elena. "They cannot approach without being detected," Krell translated, "but they offer an alternative." He turned to Elena. "Captain, my people can create a momentary phase field, a bubble of distorted space that would allow your ship to slip past the Korthax." "To what end?" Elena asked. "We can't outrun them back to Earth." "No," Krell agreed, "but there is somewhere else we could go." He manipulated the sensor display again, highlighting a nearby star system. "The Veil Nebula. The radiation interferes with Korthax sensors. If we can reach it, we can hide," Elena finished. "Temporarily," Krell cautioned. "And it would mean abandoning our current course. The Korthax would realize we're no longer heading for their command ship. They might resume their course to Earth," Jax pointed out. Elena studied the display, mind racing. "Unless we give them reason to believe we're still a threat. Araya, how many of the Nova detonators could we deploy as mines along our current trajectory?" "With our remaining launch capability, 6, the AI responded. "And if those 6 detonate in sequence, the energy signature would mimic a vessel traveling along that vector for approximately 3 hours. Elena turned to Ambassador Krell. "Would your people be willing to help us do something more than just hide?" The ambassador's alien features settled into what Elena now recognized as determination. "You saved my life, Captain. The Akari stand with you." 97 seconds later, the plan was in motion. 6 Nova detonators were launched at specific intervals, programmed to detonate in sequence, creating an energy trail that would appear to be the Defiant continuing its suicide run toward the Korthax command ship. Meanwhile, the Akari Defense Squadron began generating the phase field, a massive undertaking that would leave their ships vulnerable. "Phase field will form in 30 seconds, Krell reported. "It will last for only 10 seconds once established." "Lieutenant Reed, plot jump course to the coordinates Ambassador Krell provided," Elena ordered. "Maximum engine output the moment the field forms." The bridge crew worked with the methodical precision that came from years of training. Despite their exhaustion, despite the near certainty of death they'd been facing for hours, they functioned as a perfect unit. Elena felt a swell of pride that almost overwhelmed her fear. Whatever happened next, they had already accomplished the impossible. "Field forming," Krell announced. On the tactical display, a shimmering distortion appeared between them and the approaching Korthax hunter ships. The elite vessels immediately altered course to investigate this new phenomenon, momentarily distracted from the Defiant. "Now, Lieutenant Reed." The Defiant's engines roared to life, pushing the ship to speeds that strained its structural integrity. They shot toward the phase field like a bullet. "Korthax vessels are reacquiring target lock," Araya warned. 5 seconds to field. Reed counted down. Enemy fire lanced through space around them, most missing as the hunter ships struggled to adjust to their sudden acceleration. 3, 2, 1. The Defiant plunged into the phase field. Reality twisted. Every crew member felt the disorientation as the ship briefly existed in two states simultaneously, part in normal space, part in the subspace dimension the Akari technology accessed. When the sensation passed, the tactical display told the story. They had jumped 2 million kilometers, and the Korthax pursuit ships were still focused on the area where the phase field had been. "Maximum speed to the nebula," Alina ordered. "And deploy our last Nova detonator behind us. Make it look like a propulsion accident." The deception worked. As they approached the swirling gases of the Veil Nebula, long-range sensors showed the Korthax ships converging on the false trail left by the deployed detonators, believing they were still pursuing their target. "They took the bait," Jack said with cautious relief, as the Defiant slipped into the nebula's concealing embrace. "For now," Alina cautioned. "Lieutenant Zhao, condition of the Akari phasing system. Burned out completely, Captain. The interface wasn't designed for a ship our size. And the remaining Nova detonator? Secure in Cargo Bay 3. Alina nodded. They had bought Earth time and escaped immediate destruction, but they were still deep in enemy territory, with a damaged ship and limited options. "Captain," ARIA interrupted, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings within the nebula." "Korthax?" Alina asked sharply. "Negative. The signature doesn't match any known configuration." Ambassador Krell moved to the sensor console. "May I?" After examining the readings, the ambassador turned to Alina, his expression unreadable. "Captain, I believe we've encountered the Veiled Ones." "The what?" Jax asked. "A species that dwells within this nebula. They are reclusive. Few have ever communicated with them. They're said to be ancient, but technologically primitive by Korthax standards." "Are they hostile?" Alina asked. "Unknown. The Akari have never established meaningful contact." The decision was made for them when the sensor console chimed again. "Multiple contacts approaching," Reed reported. "Small vessels, 23 of them." The main screen showed strange, crystalline ships moving through the nebula's gases with organic grace, surrounding the Defiant in a loose formation. "They're scanning us," Zhao reported. Before Alina could respond, the comm system activated on its own. A strange, harmonic voice filled the bridge, not spoken language, but something closer to musical notation that somehow formed words in their minds. "Fleeing ones. Pursued by destroyers. Why here?" Alina stepped forward. "I am Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth vessel Defiant. We seek sanctuary from the Korthax." A pause, then, "Korthax. Old enemy. Many cycles. You've fought them before?" Alina asked, surprised. "Not fight. Hide. They cannot see through veil." Understanding dawned. "The nebula conceals you from their sensors. Yes, you bring danger. They will follow. We tried to mislead them," Alina explained. "But you're right. They'll eventually realize we came here." Another pause, longer this time. When the response came, it held a different harmonic quality. "You small ship. Challenge great destroyers. Why?" "To protect our home," Alina said simply. "Earth. Home protection. We understand." The crystalline ships moved closer. "Show us destroyers." Alina nodded to Reed, who transferred their tactical data to the main screen. The display showed the Korthax fleet, still pursuing the false trail, but beginning to spread out in a search pattern. "They adapt. Always adapt. You cannot hide. We cannot fight." "Maybe we don't need to fight," Alina said slowly, an idea forming. "Ambassador Krell, you said the Korthax believe technological superiority equals biological superiority." "Yes," Krell confirmed. "It is the core of their philosophy." Alina turned back to address the Veiled Ones. "What if we could make the Korthax defeat themselves?" "Explain." "Your people understand this nebula. Its radiation, its gases. We have one Nova-class detonator left, a terraforming device that releases enormous energy. If we could combine your knowledge with our technology. The musical voice interrupted. To create trap. Yes. We know place. Where gases concentrate. Energy amplifies. The tactical display shifted, showing a dense region deep within the nebula. The Veiled One's plan became clear. They wanted to lure the Korthax into this natural amplification chamber, then trigger the nova detonator. The resulting chain reaction would be catastrophic. How many ships could it destroy? Jax asked. If all follows, all destroyed. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. They had come hoping merely to delay the Korthax, to buy Earth time. Now they were contemplating the destruction of an entire battle fleet. The Korthax would never follow us all into the nebula, Krell said, breaking the silence. They are cautious, methodical. Unless they believe we're no longer a threat, Elena replied. That we're damaged and hiding. She looked at her XO. Jax, remember that training exercise on Europa. The wounded prey gamut. A slow smile spread across Jax's face. Leak radiation. Cut power to non-essential systems. Make it look like we're limping. Exactly. And when they send in a small team to capture us, we spring the trap, he finished. The plan came together quickly. The Defiant would position itself in the amplification chamber, appearing critically damaged. The Veiled Ones would conceal themselves nearby. When the Korthax sent ships to investigate and capture the seemingly helpless human vessel, they would trigger the nova detonator. It won't destroy their entire fleet, Elena acknowledged. But if we can eliminate their elite hunter ships and damage others, it might be enough to convince them Earth isn't worth the cost. A worthy gambit, Krell agreed. 3 hours later, the trap was set. The Defiant floated in the amplification chamber, systems powered down, emitting radiation as if its core was damaged. The nova detonator was positioned at the precise point the Veiled Ones had indicated. Elena sat in her darkened command chair, watching the tactical display. The Korthax had realized their deception and returned to a methodical search pattern. 2 hunter ships had entered the nebula's outer boundary. They've detected us, Reed reported softly. And they're approaching cautiously, Jax added, just as we predicted. The minutes crawled by as the hunter ships advanced, scanning continuously. Behind them, 3 larger vessels had taken position at the nebula's edge, reinforcements waiting to see if their elite units encountered trouble. They're hailing us, Zhao reported. Elena nodded. Put them through. The main screen flickered to life, showing a Korthax commander, humanoid, but with gray, scale-like skin and eyes that glowed with implanted technology. Human vessel. The commander said in a flat, translated voice, your deception has failed. Surrender your technology and your lives will be spared. Elena adopted an expression of defeated resignation. Our engines are critical. We can't maneuver. If you want our ship, you'll have to come take it. The Korthax commander studied her for a moment, then terminated the transmission without response. They're moving in, Reed reported. Both hunter ships are on approach, ETA 3 minutes. Elena opened a secure channel to the Veiled Ones. They're coming. 2 ships now, possibly more to follow. We ready, came the harmonic response. When close, we trigger. The hunter ships entered the amplification chamber, moving with predatory grace toward the seemingly helpless Defiant. Behind them, the 3 larger vessels began to advance into the nebula. 5 ships, Jax muttered. Better than nothing. Wait, Elena said suddenly. AI analyzed the approaching larger vessels. Compare to our records. The AI responded immediately. The central vessel is the Korthax command ship, Captain. Stunned silence fell across the bridge. They sent their command ship, Zhao whispered in disbelief. Krell's alien features shifted in what Elena now recognized as amazement. They want to study your technology personally. They must believe your nova detonators represent a truly significant threat. Elena's mind raced. If they could destroy the Korthax command ship, the entire fleet would be thrown into disarray. It might give Earth not just time, but a fighting chance. Change of plans, she said decisively. We need the command ship deeper in the chamber before we trigger the detonator. She reopened the channel to the Veiled Ones. Wait until the largest ship enters the chamber. It's their command vessel. Understood. Risk greater. Worth it, Elena replied. The hunter ships were now less than a kilometer away, close enough that they could be seen through the viewport. Sleek, predatory vessels, designed for pursuit and capture. They're deploying boarding shuttles, Reed warned. Let them come, Elena said calmly. The closer the better. The minutes stretched like hours as the Korthax command ship slowly entered the nebula, followed by its escorts. The hunter ships had taken position on either side of the Defiant, boarding shuttles approaching. Now, Jax asked tensely. Not yet, Elena insisted, watching the command ship's progress. We need it fully inside the chamber. The boarding shuttles locked onto the Defiant's hull. The sound of cutting tools echoed through the ship. They're breaking in through the cargo bay, Zhao reported. Security teams, defensive positions, Elena ordered. But do not engage unless absolutely necessary. On the tactical display, the command ship finally moved into position, fully entering the amplification chamber. Now, Elena said. The Veiled Ones triggered the Nova detonator. For a split second, nothing happened. Then the nebula itself seemed to come alive. The gases ignited in cascading waves of energy, amplifying the detonation 100-fold. The hunter ships disappeared instantly, vaporized by the initial blast. The command ship tried to turn, to escape, but the chain reaction was too fast. The expanding energy wave engulfed it, tearing through its shields and armor like paper. The massive vessel broke apart, secondary explosions rippling along its length as systems overloaded. The Defiant shuddered violently as the shockwave hit. Shields failing, Zhao shouted over the alarms. All power to structural integrity, Elena ordered. For several terrifying moments, it seemed the Defiant might tear itself apart. Consoles exploded, support beams groaned, and the lights flickered madly. Then, gradually, the shaking subsided. The nebula around them glowed with residual energy, obscuring their sensors. As the interference cleared, the tactical display updated to show the aftermath. The Korthax command ship was gone. Its escorts were crippled, drifting helplessly. And beyond the nebula, the remaining fleet had fallen into disarray, ships moving in confused patterns without central coordination. We did it, Jax breathed, barely believing the evidence before his eyes. Elena stared at the display. Area, status of the Korthax fleet. Ships are attempting to re-establish command structure. Their formation has collapsed. Multiple vessels are withdrawing from the area. They're retreating, Krell said, wonder in his voice. Without their command ship, they cannot maintain unity. Each ship commander must now decide individually whether to continue. Elena watched as, one by one, the Korthax vessels turned away from Earth's coordinates and began moving back toward their own territory. The comm system activated again, the harmonic voice of the Veiled Ones filling the bridge. Destroyers flee, victory yours. Not seen in many cycles. We couldn't have done it without you, Elena replied sincerely. Remember us to your home. Tell them Veiled Ones stand with Earth. I will, Elena promised. As the adrenaline of battle faded, the reality of what they had accomplished began to sink in. A single Earth scout ship, with the help of unlikely allies, had turned back the most feared military force in the known galaxy. Set course for Earth, Lieutenant Reed, Elena ordered, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. Let's go home and tell them what happened here. As the Defiant emerged from the nebula, escorted by the crystalline ships of their new allies, Elena looked at her crew, battered, exhausted, but alive against all odds. You did the impossible today, she told them simply. All of you. Jack smiled as he settled back into his station. Just another day for humanity, Captain. Elena returned the smile as she gazed out at the stars that would lead them home. The Korthax had learned a valuable lesson today. one that would spread throughout the galaxy. Humanity might be new to the stars, but they were not to be underestimated. One ship had changed everything. The ripple effect. 3 months after the Defiance returned to Earth, Captain Alina Reyes stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned United Earth Defense Station Theta II. Through the vast panoramic window, she watched as ships from a dozen different species moved in coordinated patterns, conducting joint training exercises with Earth's expanded defense fleet. "Quite a change from when we left," Jax commented, joining her at the window. Now Admiral Tanner, he wore his new rank insignia with the same casual confidence he'd shown as her XO. "I still can't believe how quickly everything's changed," Alina replied. After the Defiant had limped home with its incredible story and even more incredible allies, Earth's defensive posture had transformed overnight. The defeat of the Korthax command ship had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Species that had previously kept humanity at arm's length suddenly sought alliances, trade agreements, and military cooperation. "Ambassador Krell's shuttle is docking," Jax informed her. "The Akari delegation is ready for the summit." Alina nodded. The first Galactic Defense Summit was about to begin, with Earth hosting representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations. Many were former victims of Korthax aggression, coming out of hiding now that the oppressor had been weakened. "And the veiled ones?" she asked. "Their envoys arrived an hour ago," Jax said with a smile. "They're causing quite a stir. Most of these species thought they were just legends." Alina smiled. The mysterious crystalline beings had become Earth's most steadfast allies, sharing their unique understanding of nebula physics that had already revolutionized human sensor technology. Her comm badge chimed. "Captain Reyes, please report to Conference Room Alpha. The Secretary General is requesting your presence for the pre-summit briefing." "On my way," she replied, then turned to Jax. "Duty calls." "It always does for the hero of the nebula," he teased, using the media's favorite moniker for her. Alina rolled her eyes. "The entire crew were the heroes that day. I just gave the orders." "That's not how legends work, Alina," Jax said more seriously. "Sometimes history needs symbols." As they walked through the station's corridors, officers and diplomats alike stopped to salute or bow respectfully. Alina had never been comfortable with the attention, but she'd come to understand its necessity. Her story had become a rallying point, proof that determination could overcome even the most daunting odds. The conference room doors slid open to reveal a gathering of Earth's highest military and political leaders. At the center stood Secretary General Diaz, who had spearheaded the rapid expansion of Earth's defensive capabilities after the Defiant's return. "Captain Reyes," Diaz greeted her warmly. "Perfect timing. Our intelligence division just received some interesting information I thought you should hear before the summit begins." Alina took her seat at the table. "About the Korthax?" "Indeed." Diaz nodded to Admiral Chen, head of Earth Intelligence. The Admiral activated a holographic display showing a star map. "We've been monitoring Korthax territory since your encounter. Their fleet has fractured into at least 3 competing factions, each under a different war leader claiming authority." "They're fighting among themselves," Alina observed. "Civil war," Chen confirmed. "And it's spreading." The defeat of their command ship didn't just disrupt their chain of command. It shattered their cultural mythology. The Korthax believed themselves invincible, chosen by the universe to rule. Your victory challenged that fundamental belief. "What's more," Diaz added, "several subjugated species within Korthax territory have begun resistance movements. They're calling themselves defiant coalitions, using your ship's name as their banner." Alina absorbed this information silently. She had wanted to buy Earth time to prepare, perhaps even convince the Korthax that humans weren't worth the trouble. She never imagined their actions would destabilize an entire empire. "There's more," Chen continued. "We've intercepted communications suggesting that some Korthax war leaders are considering a different approach to humanity." The Admiral's expression was serious. "Not conquest, but alliance. Alliance, Elena repeated incredulously. With us. Your tactics impressed them, Chen explained. The Korthax value strength above all else. In their eyes, you proved humanity's worth by outmaneuvering their best ships and destroying their command vessel. They're pragmatists beneath their ideology, Diaz said. We expect at least one faction to send representatives within the year, seeking to establish diplomatic relations. Elena shook her head in amazement. From invasion target to potential ally in 3 months. That's quite a shift. Such is the nature of interstellar politics, a melodic voice interjected. All heads turned to see Ambassador Krell entering the room, accompanied by 2 other Akari dignitaries. Their silver skin gleamed under the conference room lights. Ambassador, Diaz greeted him. Thank you for joining us. Krell made the graceful gesture that Elena now knew was the Akari equivalent of a bow. The honor is ours, Secretary General. The Akari High Council has authorized me to share something with Earth before the summit begins. He placed a small crystalline device on the conference table. It projected a holographic image of the galaxy, with various territories highlighted in different colors. For centuries, the Korthax have been the dominant power in this sector, Krell explained, indicating a large purple region. Their aggression forced many species, including the Akari, to hide or submit. The hologram shifted, showing the purple region fracturing into smaller sections. But now, with their empire in disarray, a vacuum is formed. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does politics. Krell looked directly at Elena. Your actions aboard the Defiant didn't just save Earth, Captain. They've reshaped the power dynamics of this entire sector. And someone will fill that vacuum, Elena concluded, understanding the implication. Indeed. Krell nodded. The question before this summit is, who? The room fell silent as the weight of the moment settled on everyone present. Humanity had emerged from relative obscurity to become a significant galactic player almost overnight. It's not a role we sought, Diaz said finally. Few great powers begin by seeking their destiny, Krell replied. Most stumble into it by necessity. His large eyes focused on Elena. As you did in that nebula, Captain. The door chimed again, and a junior officer entered. Secretary General, the summit delegates are assembled in the main chamber. Diaz rose from his seat. Thank you all. Let's make history. As the others filed out, Elena remained behind for a moment, staring at the holographic galaxy still rotating above the table. Somewhere out there, the remnants of the Korthax fleet were regrouping, adapting. She knew enough about them now to understand they wouldn't simply fade away. Penny for your thoughts, Captain, Jax asked, waiting by the door. I was just thinking about consequences, she replied. One decision, one moment can change everything. Having regrets. Elena thought about the crew members who hadn't survived their desperate mission, about the responsibility they now faced as humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, about the wars that might yet come. No, she said finally. No regrets. We did what was necessary. That's all anyone can do, Jax agreed. Together, they walked toward the summit chamber where representatives from across the galaxy waited to begin a new chapter in interstellar relations, a chapter where humanity would play a central role. As Elena entered the grand hall filled with diverse species, her gaze was drawn to a display case near the entrance. Inside was a battered ship's patch, the original insignia from the scout vessel Defiant. Beside it, a simple plaque read, "One ship, one crew." One moment of defiance that changed the course of history. Elena smiled faintly. Whatever came next, peace or war, alliance or conflict, humanity had proven itself, not through overwhelming force or advanced technology, but through courage, ingenuity, and the unwavering resolve to face impossible odds. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would they.